Hi everyone, I have prepared a presentation on layer nutrition. This presentation deals about feeding and nutrient requirement of layers. The purpose of layer is to produce table eggs for human consumption. So it is very important to know the feeding and nutrient requirement of the layers. In the layer, there are two types of layers. One is that produces white eggs and brown eggs. The white egg producers, they are also called as the leghorns. It's a very common varieties. And in that leghorn varieties, so many strains of the leghorns is commercially we can get it. Among them is the shaver, highline, Lohmann, Bowen, BV300, like that, and so many varieties of leghorns we can commercially available, which will produce us white eggs. In the layer industry or egg industry that produces either brown eggs or white shell eggs, normally the white shell eggs are very predominant, and although this brown eggs also some of the countries they are in lot of demand. Nutritionally, there is no difference between white shell eggs or brown shell eggs. The color of brown in the brown shell egg is due to the genetical presence of some pigments that will produce us during the shell formation, that will add brown coloration to the egg. Nutritionally, there is no difference between brown shell eggs and white shell eggs, but generally the eggs are very inexpensive, easily affordable protein and energy and some vitamin resource for the humans. Due to these reasons, in the countries like India, due to the inexpensive protein source and energy source from the eggs, so in our country the egg consumption year by year, that is your per capita egg consumption year by year is in increasing state. Okay, this slide tells you about the feeding of the layers as per the Bureau of Indian Standards, which is laid down in the year 2007. As per our Indian standards, the layers are fed into 4 stages. The first stage is chick stage, second grower, third layer phase 1, fourth one is layer phase 2. Chick stage means between the age of 0 to 8 weeks, and the grower between 9 to 20 weeks, and the layer phase, that is when the birds are producing the eggs, that is the layer phase 1, so that is 21 to 45 weeks, and layer phase 2, that is 46 to 72 weeks. So this is a classification which is laid down by the Bureau of Indian Standard in the year 2007. As per the standards, the layers are fed like this. That means to say that although the layers which are kept for egg productions throughout their life cycle, that is usually the layers are kept as per the Bureau of Indian Standards says 72 weeks, but if depending upon this keeping of these birds, depending upon its egg production, if the birds are producing at a higher percentage, maybe they can be kept up to 75 weeks also, or even 78 weeks also. Suppose if the egg production is affected in the farm, they may be culled at 65 weeks also, 68 weeks also, but on an average they will be kept in the farms up to 72 weeks. After that they will be culled out of the farms. So there are 4 different diets you have to prepare for feeding these layers, that is chick feed, grower feed, layer phase 1, layer phase 2. So the diet composition for these 4 stages, so that will be there in the coming slide. But in some private farms or in some of the layer farms, so they may practice to have more type of or more varieties of the layer diets. So in the next slide, the some 8 different varieties of the layer feeds is commercially, they will prepare it and they will feed it. That will be there in the next slide. But the principle between this Bureau of Indian Standards or maybe from the other firms, so overall the principle will be remains same. See in this slide, so there are 8 different stages are there in the layers. So the BAS has been classified into 4 stages between 0 to 72 weeks, whereas in this slide there are 8 different stages are there. So this is adapted from many breeder farms. They will adopt this type of feeding in the many breeder farms, and some of the highline varieties they recommend this. So as per this, the layers are classified into 8 different stages, and in some farms maybe more than that also. But the principle of feeding of the layers between the Bureau of Indian Standards or as per this slide, so both are the main principle is same. So as per this, they are classified, the layers are classified into starter, grower, developer, pre-layer, layer 1, layer 2, layer 3 and layer 4. The main purpose of classifying the layers into 4 stages as per the Bureau of Indian Standards are 8 stages or more than 8 stages in some of the firms. So the main purpose of classifying like this is to, because the birds, in case of these layers, the nutrient demands will be changes as the age progresses. To match that nutrients, maybe calcium, energy or proteins or some any other nutrients, so they will be as per the demands, as per the age they will be fed. So that's why, so the layers, although they are egg producers, so the throughout from 0 to 72 weeks they are not fed a single type of diet. They are fed with a different varieties of diet. Like in case of broilers also, the broilers, they are classified, although they are reared only for 6 weeks, they are classified into 3 stages like pre-starter, starter and finisher. Similar in the layers also, like this type of classification, it is mainly to match the nutrient need of that bird. After knowing various types of diets in case of layers, next is you have to know the main objective of layer feeding or layer nutrition. So the purpose of the layers is to produce egg. So to optimize the egg productions, our feed should be, the nutrient should be meat to optimize its egg productions. So at present, around 320 to 330 eggs are produced per bird in a laying cycle. To optimize that egg productions, our feeding should be diverted, and followed by that, the quality of the egg also important. Okay, that means quality mainly involves the shell quality. If the eggs are produced without shell or poor quality of shells, or sometimes that is called as the shellless egg, so such situations are not beneficial to anyone. So the objective of layer feeding that should be oriented towards to have a better shell quality, and followed by that, the objective for the layer is also diverted to attain a good health and uniform body weight at the time of sexual maturity. Usually in case of layers at present, so they will attain the sexual maturity around 16 to 17 weeks. At that time, the flock's body weight should be uniform. So otherwise, if the birds are obese or very thin or very weak birds are there at the time of sexual maturity, so both are not beneficial. So it is recommended that the layer, or I can say the pullets, at the time of sexual maturity, the ideal body weight of the bird should be around 1.2 to 1.25 kg at the time of sexual maturity to get a optimum egg production out of that bird. And followed by that, the objective of the layer nutrition is very important one. The fast growth of bird is also not ideally recommended for the layers. Like in case of broilers, the fast growth is recommended, whereas in case of layers, the growth, the body weight of the birds or the fast growth is not a recommended criteria. This table shows the comparison of growth rate between the broilers and the layers. See, you can see at the time of birth, both the chicks of broiler or layers will be having similar body weight, and in case of broilers, by the end of 6 weeks, that is at present 30 to 35 days, they will attain 2.1 kgs, so roughly around 55 grams of growth per day. Whereas in case of layers, see the same thing, but at the time of 6 weeks, they will attain around 450 grams. Although the genetic potentiality of the layers also be there, if they fed a libdom type of feeding, they may reach more than 450 grams. But the target body weight is a very important one. So in that perspective, the layers at the time of the maturity, the sexual maturity, they should attain around 1.2 kgs. If the body weight of the layers at this point of time, if it is higher or lower, it will affect the future egg production. So keeping this point in view, so in case of layers, so the ideal recommended body weight, that is around more than 18 weeks to 17 to 72 weeks, it is recommended the layer should attain the body weight between the body weight of 1.35 kg to 1.6 kgs. So this is a difference in the growth rate pattern between the broilers. That's why in case of layers, the slower growth is very important. If the body weight of the birds at the time of the lay either lower or higher, both the case is harmful with respect to its egg production. Again, this graph is showing weekly body weight of the layers. So what you can observe is the layers, they are attaining steady in its growth rate. So this is possible by the method of feeding. Usually the layers are restricted type of feeds they are fed, and also when you compare the broiler feeds and the layer feeds, the layer they contain lower in protein, lower in energy, and lower in other vitamins also. So, and also the quantity of the feed for the layers fed is slightly lower, that is called as restricted feeding is followed. So due to that reason, so we can see this type of graph which is recommended in case of layers. The sexual maturity in layers means the point of egg production or point of egg laying. So the usually in case of commercial layers, it is around 16 to 17 weeks. So usually the layers will start its egg productions. So at this point they will produce very small eggs, and the weight of the eggs will be around 40 grams. So usually these layers, they are called as pullets. Okay, it's also called as pullet eggs. So as I said, the body weight at this age will be around 1.2 kgs as the recommended. The end of egg productions in case of layers will be around 72 weeks, and depending upon the performance of the birds, the owner may keep the birds 72 weeks or more than 72 weeks or below the 72 weeks also. It mainly depends upon the end of the egg production, depends upon the performance of the birds. If the egg production is more than 90-95% at 72 weeks, so they may keep the birds a little bit longer also. If the production is affected, they may be cull it. And usually the body weight at this age will be around 1.6 kgs. So the main, you can see the difference of the body weight between at the start of egg production and at the end of the egg productions. The difference is of around 400 grams. This difference of 400 grams in the body weight, it occurs over a period of 56 weeks. So as if you go by day wise, that means there won't be any fluctuation in the body weight. Okay, roughly around 1 to 2 grams of gain can happen in the layers between 16 weeks till the end of the egg productions, that is of 72 weeks. So most of the nutrient that is fed for the birds, so during 16 to 72 weeks will be mainly diverted for the egg production, maintenance, not for the growth. As we know, the beginning of egg production is 16 weeks, end of the egg production is around 72 weeks, and we also know when there should be a peak of egg productions. So it will be around 24 to 25 weeks at now, and at this phase the most limiting nutrients are protein, energy, and calcium. See that in the diet we should provide all these nutrient in a sufficient amount. We should meet to its egg productions. And in the graph I have shown you, so once the birds reaches the peak of egg productions, suppose if it is 100% is egg production, so after the peak of egg productions, gradually the egg production, the percentage of egg production will be gradually decreases till the end. So it may be at the end, maybe it may be 90% or 85% or 90% at the end of 72 weeks. Once the birds reaches to its peak of egg productions, after that point, gradually the egg productions will be decreased. So as you know, there are two terms used in expressing the egg production. Usually they express as percentage of egg productions, that is from 0 to 100%. So the two methods of estimating this egg production is hen day egg productions or hen housed egg productions. So depending upon the flock size, so these egg productions are classified. So okay, this overall, this percentage of egg productions once reaches the peak, after that point, so gradually till the end of 72 weeks, gradually it will decreases. Again, this is one more graph showing both the feed intake and the body weight of the layers between 0 to 17 weeks. And this is a graph showing all the parameters, that is the egg production at the top, followed by the feed intake in the unit of gram per day per bird, followed by that egg weight and the body weight. So all these parameters are shown in this graph. You can see as the egg production increases, gradually the feed intake also increases. The body weight of the birds also gradually increases, I said 1 to 2 grams per day, and similarly the egg weight from the beginning till the end, that also gradually increases. So as I said at the beginning, that is the pullet eggs will be around 40 grams. At the end of 72 weeks, that egg weight will be increases to around 60 grams or more than 60 grams also. So this is a graph showing all the parameters in the layers. On an average, the laying bird per day needs around 16 to 18 grams of crude protein, 285 to 290 kilocalories of ME, okay, and calcium of 3.75 grams. In that, the amount of absorbable calcium should be 2 grams. So in the values that I have shown here, so how these values have been arrived, so that I will be in the calculation part I will explain regarding this, but you have to remember, so on an average one laying bird needs this much of nutrients to produce an egg. This is a table showing nutrient requirement of the layers as specified by Bureau of Indian Standard 2007. As per the specification, so the layers are categorized into 4 stages: chick, grower, layer 1 and layer 2. The layer 1 and layer 2 means the layer phase 1, layer phase 2. So that is in the chapter of phase feeding. I will explain detail regarding that. So Bureau of Indian Standard has categorized the layers into 4 stages. So as per this specification, we can see the amount of moisture in the layer feed, irrespective of the varieties, the maximum they are fixed to 11%, which is similar in case of broiler feed or a cattle feeds or anyone. They are specified to maximum of 11%. And next is the protein in percentage. So minimum, in terms of minimum values, for chick it is 20, grower 16, and when the egg production starts, they will fix to 18%, and in the phase 2 it is decreased to 16%. I will explain later in the phase feeding regarding why they are decreased to 18 to 16 in the phase feeding chapter. And if you compare the CP value of the broilers and layers, you can see in the broilers, so it was very high at 23%, whereas in case of layers, can you compare lower protein, and also you can see the ME content or energy value of the layer feed also, it is lower in compared to broilers. So for chick 2800, grower 2500, and egg productions where the egg production demands the energy, so they are increased to 2600, whereas in the phase 2 again it has been decreased. And ether extract or fat content of the diet, which is the minimum values, they are fixed to 2%. And the fiber value, CF value, so that is maximum values, because if you include a lot of fiber in the poultry diets, it will affect the digestibilities, because they are autoenzymatic digesters. They cannot able to digest the fiber particles. But when you compare the broilers, you can see it is slightly higher. The layers will be slightly higher, 7, 9 and 10% also they. And coming to the acid in ash, the degree of adulterations, again it is around 4%, salt 0.5%, and the important one is calcium. It is expressed as a minimum percentage. So for chick and grower, it has been 1% of the diet. It is in percentage, it is 1% of diet. So when the egg production starts, they are recommended to increase the calcium content of the layer diets to 3%, and even higher in phase 2, that is 3.5%. So extra 2 to 2.5% extra, that is diluted for egg shell formation. That's why they recommended higher calcium during actual lay period. And when you compare the phosphorus will be decreased, that is from 0.7 to 0.65. So the one more unit is available phosphorus, that is PAV, and the lysine content also similar to the protein. So it is 1%, and when the grower state it is lower to 0.7, and layer 1 also 0.7, and phase 2 0.65. But when you compare the broilers, it is lower, and the methionine also 0.4, 0.35, 0.35 and 0.3%. And the last one is the presence of aflatoxins. In that aflatoxin B1 they are specified, which is expressed as ppb, that is the maximum values. Maximum permissible value is 20 ppb, whether it is maybe layers or a broilers or a cattle feeds. So this is a overall the Bureau of Indian Standards, which is specified the nutrient requirement for the layers. So in addition, not only these nutrients, in addition some B complex vitamins, trace minerals, they are also specified but are not shown in this table. So they are also there in this requirement, because in case of poultry, everything should be fed to the birds, all the vitamins, all the amino acids, all the trace minerals, all the minerals, because they are under confinement, all the nutrients should be supplied to them through the feed only. So that's why all the At present, all the nutrient requirement for the layers or the any broilers is available, but I have shown few nutrients in this table, which is a major. In the layers, during the chick stage, that is between 0 to 8 weeks, they are given with the more energy, more protein, more minerals and vitamins than any other stages like grower or layer phase 1 and layer phase 2. So the purpose of providing more energy and protein during the chick stage is to meet the nutrient demand for the growth also. But in compare with the broiler pre-starter and starter, the amount of energy and protein is lower. Once the chicks are, the feather formation is completed, so from that point onwards, you can reduce the energy requirement. Next, during the growth stage on percent basis, so that is between 8 to 20 weeks, these are all called as pullet stage. They are provided with a lower energy, lower protein than the chick stage. So in addition to this, in addition to the BAS recommendations, some of the breeders, they can have the one more stage called as pre-layer diet, maybe of 2 weeks, 1 week or 3 weeks like that. They can be feed to the pullets. Generally this pre-layer, they contain slightly higher calcium than the grower diet. In the layers, very important and very critical stage in the layers is the growth stage, because the body weight of the birds which directly controls the egg weight or egg size. If the bird's body weight is higher, automatically those birds will produce larger eggs. So maybe they may be weighing more than 40-45 grams at the beginning itself. So the larger birds, they'll produce larger eggs. And to produce a large eggs is generally uneconomical than to produce a smaller eggs, because pricing of the eggs depends upon the egg numbers rather than the weight. So to produce a larger egg or larger weighing egg weight is always uneconomical. So the growth stage is very critical. Suppose if you don't control the body weight of the growing layers, it will produce larger eggs. And the larger weighing pullets also, they will consume large amount of feed, and again it is both uneconomical with respect to the egg selling as well as by feeding us, because these birds will consume more feed than the smaller pullets. So to achieve a smaller pullets, so very important one is you have to provide a ration or a feed which contains lower in energy and protein when you compare to the chick stage. So the time between 8 weeks to the till the sexual maturity is very important stage where we can manipulate the mature body size of the pullet. This is achieved by qualitative or quantitative type of feed restriction. Okay, at present, if you observe the difference between the chick stage and the grower stage, you can observe. So the difference in the energy and proteins, always in the growth stage, there contains lower energy and lower proteins. So due to that, the lower energy obtained from that feed, grower feed, due to that, you can manipulate the body weight of the growing pullets. This is a graph showing feed intake of the layers between 0 to 20 weeks. You can see between 8 to 15 or 16 weeks, you can see the feed intake of the pullets is almost similar. So that is around 48 to 60 grams. In that only they are fed. So the purpose of this one is, as I said, you can manipulate the body weight of the growing pullets so that we can control the egg weight, and also you can prevent the obesity which will affect the egg production in the layers. This is a table showing composition of whole egg. On average, the whole egg contains 66% water, 12% protein, 10% fat, 11% ash or shell. Carbohydrate is very meager, 1%, and one egg contributes 86 kilocalories of ME, and in addition it also contains around 200 to 250 milligrams of cholesterol in one egg. So this is a contribution of one egg. So suppose if the egg weight is 60 grams, that means it provides around 7.2 grams of protein, 6 grams of fat, and the weight of the shell is 11% out of 60 grams, means 6.6 grams will be the weight of the shell. So one question has been asked, if the egg weight is 55 grams, what is the contribution of this nutrient? This slide is showing composition of eggshell. As I said, the whole egg contains 11% as shell. So the shell contains 0.5% of water, 3.2% of protein, and the major one is the inorganic constituents of the shell, which is 95.3%. Out of this 95.3%, 94 to 97% is made up of calcium carbonate, and in that calcium carbonate the calcium content is 37 to 38%. Suppose if the egg weight is 60 grams, that means it contains 6.6 grams of shell or 6.27 grams of calcium carbonate if you take 94%, or it contains 2.38 grams of calcium. That means one egg which is weighing around 60 grams contains 2.38 grams of calcium. In other words, to produce one egg, it needs 2.38 grams of calcium for the shell formation. So this data is required when you are formulating a ration for the layers. So this data is required. That means one egg contains for its cell formation needs 2.38 grams of calcium. The pre-layer diet. So this diet can be introduced to the pullets just before the egg production. So as I said, some of the breeder farms, they will introduce this pre-layer diets just before the start of the egg production. So the purpose of having the pre-layer diet is to compensate the sudden loss of calcium in the shell formation. To compensate that loss, they will introduce this pre-layer diet, which contains slightly higher calcium than grower diet, whereas lower than the layer diet. The egg production is major stress inducing factor, especially for the pullets. So because of the drainage of the nutrients like calcium, protein and energy from the bird to the egg, it is a major stress inducing factor. And to meet the calcium for the shell formation, the birds will get the calcium from the medullary bones like a tibia, like a long bones. So from that it will meet the calcium for the shell formation. Generally, the calcium reserves of the medullary bones may be sufficient to lay eggs for 3 to 4 eggs. If reserves are vanished or utilized, so it will cause us some calcium deficiency in the birds, like cessation of ovulation, the breakage of bones and some others. So to avoid such conditions, the purpose of introducing the pre-layer diet is to build the reserves in the medullary bones prior to the first egg productions. That's why the pre-layer diets are introduced just before the egg productions, maybe for 2 weeks, 3 weeks or smaller also, 1 week also. some of the breeder farms. There are three options are available to formulate a pre-layer diet. First option is use the same amount of calcium as in the grower diet till 5% of the egg production will starts. Till that you keep the 1% of calcium. After that you can increase the calcium. That is the first option. And second option is you increase the calcium to 2%. And another option is to have a higher calcium. Third option is to have a higher calcium, that is 3 to 5%. When calcium is used at 1% in the pre-layer diet till the 5% of egg production, so it is having some advantages also there, disadvantage also there. For example, the disadvantage is the bird's reserves is sufficient to produce around 3 to 4 eggs. So this may not be sufficient, and what will do, the birds will stop laying the egg production and they will exhibit the symptoms of deficiency, calcium deficiency symptoms. So this is a disadvantage. And advantage, the feeding the lower calcium, that is 1% of calcium, it will increases the efficiency of absorption of calcium from the gut. So this will helpful in the future also. So that is advantage. If the calcium is used at the rate of 2%, so this will prevent such a deficiency problem, as I said, in the 1% of calcium diet. So this will prevent that problem. And other option is to have a higher calcium similar to the layer diet, that is 3 to 5% of calcium during the pre-layer. That means you introduce the layer diet just prior to the first egg productions. So this also causes accumulation of or retention of calcium in the medullary bones. So it will prevent the deficiency problems. So these are three options are available. Okay, among them, so most of the breeder farms, what they will do, they will introduce the layer diet just before the egg productions, that is 3% or 3.5% as a pre-layer diets. So this is also the most common options. The most of the breeders, they will adopt it. The calcium sources for shell formation. Calcium is a very critical nutrient for shell formation. As I said, for shell formation, the birds will lose 2 grams of calcium in the shell. So that's why it's a very critical nutrient. And the deficiency of that calcium will causes the cessation of ovulation, shellless eggs, or some other bone breakage problems in the layers. So calcium for the layers can be met either by the calcium source having the larger particles, like in case of oyster shells, where the calcium can be obtained from the small particles, that is from the limestone powder or a dicalcium phosphate. The oyster shell is generally, it is in the form of the grits. Generally they are insoluble and they act as a slow release of calcium to the birds. The small particles, they are more soluble and there will be little retention can happen in the digester. So these are the two resources for calcium to the layers. As in the picture as shown, the calcium particle size of 0 to 2 particles, they are called as fine particles, and coarse particle of 2 to 4 millimeters, they are called as coarse particles or grits. When you come to the phosphorus, although calcium is, the requirement is higher, but you should not provide high phosphorus to the layers, which will affect the egg production of the layers. So always keep lower phosphorus in the layer diet. This is a photograph showing various source of the minerals for the birds. You can see in the shell grit and the stone grits, these are having the larger particles more than 3 to 4 millimeter. They act as a sustained release of the calcium when they reaches the gizzard, so they will be slowly eroded in the gizzard due to the contact with the feeds or between the particles. The calcium will be released slowly, so the sustained release of calcium can happen from these grid sources. Next is some of the specialty of the layer diets. This type of diet can be introduced to the layers when the egg production is started. So, as per the Bureau of Indian Standards says, if the bird's age is more than 20 weeks, it is recommended to introduce this layer diet. So there are two types of layer diets, layer diet 1 and layer diet 2, that is called as layer phase 1 and phase 2. The specialty of this diet is there will be slightly more in energy, protein and calcium than the grower. The reason for that one is to meet the loss of the protein, loss of the energy and calcium in the egg. To compensate that loss, the diet for the layer should be higher than the grower. So it is recommended in case of layer diet 1, 2600 kilocalories of ME per kg, protein of 18% and 3% of calcium. And generally the intake of the birds varies from the season to season. Summer on an average the consumption is 90 to 110 grams, whereas during the winter it will be increases to 110 to 125 grams. On an average, in case of layers, the feed intake per egg productions, that is including the pause period, so the feed intake per egg production is 122 to 125 grams. These layer diet contains slightly higher fiber than the chick as well as the grower, because these birds little bit older, so these birds can able to digest little bit slightly higher fiber than the chicks and growers. The nutrient requirement during laying phase, that is between 20 to 72 weeks, as per the Bureau of Indian Standards, so it has been categorized into two phases. So between 20 to 45, that is called as phase 1, and 45 to 72 weeks, that is called as phase 2. So in the previous slide I told the layers will start its egg production by about 16 weeks. Peak of the egg production will be around 24 to 25 weeks, and the end of egg production will be around 72 weeks. Okay, so between 20 to 72 weeks, although the gap of around 52 weeks or 54 weeks, they will producing the eggs, but they are not fed with single type of diet. The diet for them will be changed. So as per the Bureau of Indian Standard says, at least 2 phases the birds are fed, but in some of the breeder farms or some pure line farms, they will be feeding in 3 phases or 4 phases or even 5 phases also. Okay, every 10 weeks they will change the diet. Okay, the difference in the phase, if you see as per the Bureau of Indian Standards, so you can see in the phase 1 and phase 2, the CP percentage in the diet will be reduced from 18 to 16%. Similarly, energy also, it has been reduced to 2600 to 2400, and the lysine and methane also they have reduced it. So the purpose of the phase feeding, or during the principle of the phase feeding, is you have to essentially reduce the protein, energy and amino acids in the layer diets as the bird's age increases, so you have to reduce this. In contrast to this, the fiber and the calcium content of the layers during this phase feeding has been increased. The reason for lowering the protein, energy and amino acids, whereas increasing the fiber and calcium, the reason is as the bird's age increases, its appetite will increases, its body weight will increases, the egg weight also increases, only the egg production will be decreased. Okay, so since the body weight increases, their appetite increases, so the nutrient requirement of the animals will be met, easily met, if the animals are having higher appetite. So that's why it will meet the requirement. So whereas the fiber, as the bird's age increases, the fiber density also slightly improves. So it is, the fiber level can be recommended even up to 10% also allowed. 10% is also allowed. And the calcium has been increased from 3 to 3.5% because the egg weight, as the bird's age increases, the egg weight also increases. Egg weight is increases. So at the beginning I said around 40 grams. So maybe around 24-25 grams, 25 weeks, the egg weight may be around 55 grams. So at the end, it may reach us to 60-62 grams also. So the egg weight also gradually throughout the laying cycles increases. Okay, since the egg weight increases, the to cover that egg, the needs lot of shell formation. For that, the birds need higher calcium. And also, it is known that as the bird's age increases, the absorption of calcium in the gut, okay, from the feed, lowers. That's why to compensate all this, the calcium content has been increased. But no problem with other nutrients. They are like phosphorus or some other nutrients. They are throughout their phase feeding, it is remains same. During this phase feeding, as the bird's age is increased, what happens? Their appetite will be increases. Birds gets older, their appetite will increases, or its feed intake will be increases. Whereas the egg production, as the age increases, egg production will decreases. So due to that reason, during the phase feeding, since the appetite is more compared to the 20 weeks, the 45 weeks old birds, they will consume more feed. Due to that higher appetite, if you reduce the energy and protein, also they can compensate its requirement by consuming more feed. So that's why the density of the old birds, protein or energy density should be reduced. And in addition to that, the egg production also, the percentage of egg production also decreases. So it will matches to its requirement. That's the intention of this phase feeding. Okay, I shown in this table also, between 20 to 36 weeks, you can see the egg production raises and reaches to its maximum. You can see the egg weight, it is also increases, egg weight will increases. And also body weight also, you can see, body weight also increases. And next column is the feed intake, that also increases. So go to the next phase, it is 37 to 56 weeks as per this example. The production of the egg production is maintained and egg weight also increases. Both the feed intake and body weight also increases. So beyond around 56 weeks, the production start decreasing. It will start decreasing, whereas the egg weight, its body weight, as well as the feed intake, that also increases. So the reason for that phase feeding I told is shown in this table. That means the egg production as the age increases decreased, whereas the feed intake will be increased. Due to that, if you reduce the density in the phase feed, it can meet its requirement. So one more table I have given, the classification of the proteins, how much of protein is diverted between phase 1 and phase 2. You can see in this example, in the phase 1, for protein, 12.2 grams of protein is required for egg productions. So if you go for phase 2, it has been increased to 13.5 grams of proteins. That means because of the egg weight is increased, so it will need a lot of protein for egg productions. And for maintenance, so the protein requirement is 3 grams for maintenance. In the phase 1, it will be increased to 3.4 grams. The reason for this, because the bird's age is more, that's why it is higher amount of protein for its maintenance. You can see the growth. Some amount of growth will be there between 20 to 45 weeks, that is 1.4 grams of proteins are added during the phase 1. And whereas there is no growth, almost nil growth will be there. So that's no need of protein for the growth formation. And feather formation also. Although the feather formation will be completed around 4 weeks, so under phase 1, some of the little bit of feather also they may form. Okay, although it is very negligible, 0.4 grams. So under phase 2, it is still lower. But overall, the protein requirement, whether it may be phase 1 or phase 2, the total amount of protein required is 17 grams of protein is required. So again, I will explain this phase feeding, the egg production, egg weight, egg body weight, and feed intake in the graph in the next slide. This is a graph showing egg production, so that I have explained in the previous slide, same thing. So in the graphical manner, so it says about the hen day egg production, the average egg weight, the intake of the bird, its body weight, and cumulative egg mass. So all these parameters is a single graphs. We can see the all are in ascending order except the hen day production, percent of egg productions. So keeping this point in mind, the phase feeding has been introduced in case of layers. To understand better the calcium metabolism in the layers, you have to know the shell formation also, how the shell formation occurs in the layers. So shell formation occurs in the shell gland, which is also called as uterus. So from the ovary, after the ovulations, the ovum reaches the infundibulum. Suppose if it is a mated with the males, it will get fertilized. The unfertilized eggs, like in case of layers, reaches the magnum, isthmus, and finally comes to the shell gland or uterus, that is been shown in the picture also. Once it reaches, it is having the yolk, albumin coated of albumin also, and there the shell formation occurs. Here the egg will be stays here for a longer period of out of a day 24 hours, 20 hours and 40 minutes will be stayed here for the shell formation. The shell is made up of calcium carbonate, and the calcium carbonate is formation of calcium carbonate can take place with the help of calcium from the absorbed from the digesta, or that has been released from the medullary bones. That calcium can be accessed source of this calcium carbonate. The carbonate ions can be obtained as an end product of the respirations, where the released expired end product after the metabolism, the carbon dioxide, will be combined with the water to form carbonic acid, that is H2CO3. This H2CO3, the formation of H2CO3 is dependent upon carbonic anhydrase enzyme, as you know this one. The carbonic acid further dissociates to form bicarbonate, and this bicarbonate again dissociates to carbonates. The formed carbonate will combine with the inorganic calcium in the uterus to form a calcium carbonate. The formation of calcium carbonate is completely a non-enzymatic process, and usually this formation of calcium carbonate over the layer of the albumin takes place during the dark hours, or during, that means shell formation occurs during night hours. This slide is showing how the eggs are formed in various parts of the reproductive organ in the layers, like in case of infundibulum, magnum, isthmus, uterus. These are parts of the reproductive organs. So how long this egg has been stayed in the different parts, that has been shown in this slide. You can see in the infundibulum, the egg after the ovulation, which is having the yolk, reaches the infundibulum and stays for a shorter duration of 50 minutes. If it is fertilized, it will fertilized eggs formed, like in case of breeder forms. So like in table eggs, there is no fertilization takes place. After that, the released yolk, ovum, reaches the magnum, stays for 2 hours 40 minutes for albumin formation, and goes to the isthmus, stays there for 1 hour and 50 minutes for spheroid nucleations, and finally remaining hours till the egg has been released from the reproductive tract stays for a longer period in the uterus for 20 hours for calcification. The main purpose of this slide is to show that calcification occurs during the night time, and it is the time where the birds are not consuming any type of feed. So initially 6 hours I told, the released ovum will be there in the infundibulum, magnum and isthmus. and reaches the uterus by about 4 to 5 hours after the ovulation. So initially around 6 hours, there is no shell formation occurs. Only the membranes are formed, the albumin are formed, okay, and between 6 to 12 hours, if you categorize next 12 hours, next 6 hours, around the shell formation will begin. Around 400 milligrams of calcium are deposited, and remaining 6 hours, the next 6 hours, that is between 12 hours to 18 hours, 800 milligrams of calcium will takes place, and 19 to 24 hours, so 500 milligrams of calcium is deposited. That means total about 1700 milligrams or 1.7 grams of calcium is deposited on the shell, on the egg. So if you say, suppose today by 12 noon, if egg is laid by a bird 12 noon, so till 6 p.m., that is in the evening 6 p.m., there is no shell formation. So from 6 p.m. to 12 p.m. during the dark hours, 400 milligrams of calcium are deposited, and between 12 to 6 a.m. in the morning, 800 milligrams of calcium is deposited. It means 1200 milligrams are deposited during night hours, and early hours maybe around remaining 500 milligrams of calcium is deposited. Okay, the purpose of this slide is to show the calcium deposition takes place during the night time and during the non-feeding time, because in the dark hours the birds won't consume any feed. So the source of calcium during these dark hours, that should be obtained to the birds, that should be non-feeding time also. So how to get the calcium for the shell formation is, that is in the digesta, the grit should be there that acts as a reservoirs to release a slow release of calcium from the gut. So that's why the feeding of the grits, as I said, these are slow release of calcium sources for the bird. So that acts as a very important source to shell formation during these dark hours. This is an example to show that calcium is deposited in dark hours. So as per this example, around 70 to 75% of the calcium is deposited during the dark hours. So it is 1.7 grams, I said. Again, the amount of calcium or amount of the shell depends upon the egg weight also. So if this example is taken, the egg weight of about 50 to 55 grams. If the egg weight is more, maybe 60 grams is there egg weight, the amount of shell also coverage on the egg also higher, maybe around 2 grams or 2.2 grams. That has been shown in the previous slide. In case of layers in egg with respect to the egg production, the thin shelled eggs are a very common problem. So it usually occurs in the wild birds, and whenever the intake of the bird is feed intake has been reduced, in that situation also you can observe this thin shelled eggs. And if the absorption of calcium is reduced, okay, maybe due to the source of calcium, or if vitamin D3 level is lower, so absorption of calcium is affected. And if severe temperature is there in the environment due to the excessive panting, because the birds will dissipate their heat by mouth breathing, that is called as panting. By that, the severe loss of the carbon dioxide will occur. Due to that, the formation of bicarbonates will be lower, or carbonates will be lower. So due to that, calcium carbonate formation will be affected. Due to that, the thin shelled eggs are common, and even the imbalance of the electrolytes, that is due to the excess of salt, lower bicarbonate. Due to that, these thin shelled eggs are common in case of the layers. The prevention of occurrence of thinned shelled eggs in the farm is by temperature management. By using the foggers or proper ventilation, you can control the temperature of the shed, so that you can prevent that panting, so that you can prevent the excessive loss of carbon dioxide. By reducing the ammonia level also, we can prevent this condition. And feed, to improve the intake of the birds, you generally feed during the cooler part of the day, maybe in the early morning or in the early evening. So whenever the temperature is lower, at that time you feed it, so the intake is normal, so you can prevent the conditions. Keep the minimum of 3.5% calcium in the feed. So by that also you can prevent this condition. During early evening by about 3 or 4 p.m. you can provide coarse particles of calcium in the form of shell grits. That is called as top dressing. Okay, in addition to the diet, you can top dress the coarse particles around 2 grams per bird. You can prevent this situation. You maintain the ratio of fine to coarse calcium particles. The fine particles are one which is between below 1 millimeters and coarse about 2 to 3 millimeters. They are called as coarse calcium particles. Minimum of 50 to 50% ratio you have to keep it at during 20-25 weeks or 30 weeks. As the bird's age increases, you increase the proportion of calcium particle, that is 70% of total calcium in the form of coarse particles. Supplementation of vitamin D3 acts as a helpful in the absorption of calcium. See that vitamin D3 should be supplied. Avoid excess of phosphorus and salt, which will affect the shell formation. So avoid the excess of feeding phosphorus and salt to the diet by reducing the proteins, methionine and choline, because these factors will increase the egg size. So that if you can reduce the egg size, so that the shell formation amount of calcium required for shell formation also reduced, you can prevent this condition of thin shelled eggs. And you can feed the fish meal, meat meal, which is a good source of calcium, and also absorption of calcium or bioavailability of calcium from these sources are higher. You can feed fish meal and meat meal maybe of 5 to 8% in the layer rations. You can prevent this situation. The coloration of shell. So most of you have seen some of the coloration of avian species. Some may be brown color, some may be olive green color, like in case of emu, or in some of the breeds some coloration will be there. So that coloration of the shell it is genetically fixed. It is due to the deposition of some pigments at the end of shell formation. I told 24 out of 24 hours, 20 hours of the egg formation will be retained in the uterus. So the last 2 hours, so it will be the coloration of the shells will take place. Suppose during the brown shelled eggs, the brown coloration happens during the last 2 hours. That is due to the accumulation of pigments or deposition of pigments on the shell, like a porphyrin pigments. So in case of eggs, it is called as ooporphyrin. Due to that, the shell formation will be color of the shell formation will be changed. And next one is this pigmented shells or colored shells. They tend to have a little bit of retain more heat than the white eggs, but the nutritionally there is no difference in the white eggs or a brown eggs. But generally the brown colored shells, with those birds which lay the brown colored shells, they will consume more feed. A little bit of the weight of the brown colored shells are little bit weight is higher, that's why they will consume more feed. But nutritionally there is not much difference whether it is a brown shelled eggs or a white shelled eggs. The coloration of yolk also will be changes from yellow to orange, sometimes colorless also. That coloration of yolk is due to the presence of fat soluble carotenoids that will impart that coloration of yolk. So this carotenoids is in the form of cryptoxanthin, lutein, neoxanthin, zeaxanthin, or zeaxanthins. These are various types of carotenoids. All will impart the coloration to the yolk. The source of these carotenoid pigments or the source of this yolk color can be obtained by feeding the maize grain, which is yellow maize, really rich in these carotenoid pigments. So from that it will impart the yellow coloration to the yolk, or by including the lucerne at the rate of 3 to 5%, the coloration of yolk will be changed to yellowish in nature. Or if you extract the corn yellow pigments from the maize, you can feed it at the rate of 5%, or by feeding the corn gluten on the byproduct of the maize, or by feeding the marigold leaves, marigold flower, so at the rate of 5%, you can have the coloration of yolk ranging from yellow to orange. In case of if you feed a lot of cotton seed, suppose in the layers, it will impart the greenish color to the yolk. So it is not a with respect to the consumers, it is not favorable, and also the quality of the egg in such situation is very, very poor. So that is due to the presence of gossypol and cyclopropanoid in the cottonseed cake that will give the bad coloration to the yolk. That's why in case of layers, the feeding of the cottonseed cake is avoided. The feed efficiency is called as how much of feed that is required to produce a dozen of eggs is called as feed efficiency in the layers. Similarly, the feed efficiency can be calculated per egg mass also. So to produce 1 dozen of egg, the amount of feed consumption is 1.48 to 1.54 kgs. Similarly, as per the egg mass, to produce 1 egg mass, the birds will consume 2.2 kgs of the feed. So in case of broilers, it is feed efficiency is calculated in terms of weight gain or body weight. So to get a 1 kg of body weight, the amount of feed required is 1.6 kgs. The heat stress or summer stress in birds. So ideally for birds, 27 degrees centigrade is a very ideal, but any temperature above this will affect its performance and FCR. So how it will affect is during the heat stress, the birds will dissipate its body weight by panting, causes hyperventilations. Due to that, animals intake also affected, feed intake is affected, higher water intake. Due to that, the performance of the birds will be affected. In addition to that, to dissipate its body heat, the peripheral blood supply will be increased. So the blood supply to the actual major organs will be affected, like in case of for egg formations or any other so generally they are prone for disease also, and the performance of the birds, like whether it be growth or egg productions, are affected, and in turn it will affect the shell quality. The feeding management of the layers during the heat stress or summer stress is by various methods are there. First one is obviously the bird's intake is affected in the summer, so what you have to do, you have to increase the energy by adding the fats. Instead of adding the carbohydrates, you have to add the fat supplementation to these birds in the form of oils or animal fats. You can add the fat to the ratios. As you know, the heat increment of the fats are lower compared to the proteins and carbohydrates. As I said, in the methods of having energy requirement, heat increment in case of fats is only 10%, whereas in case of protein it is 30%. So generally you have to add fats during the summer time, and the diet should be having lower protein because of to reduce the heat increment, low in protein but balanced in all the essential amino acids. So if needed, you can add synthetic amino acids like lysine hydrochloride or DL-methionine or threonine, like that you can add synthetic amino acids. In addition, since the electrolyte balance also affected, you have to supplement sodium bicarbonate or ammonium chloride or sodium zeolite or potassium. Okay. Next, you have to supplement as antioxidants like vitamin C, A, D, and because the shell formation, the calcium is required for absorption of calcium. Vitamin D3 is essential, so vitamin D3 have to be supplemented. So if the temperature is very higher, you can add antibiotics in the feed or in the water. So that is commonly used is salicylic acid at the rate of 3% or aspirin. So these are the nutritional management of the birds during the heat stress. Okay, this is a table showing the economic parameters of the layers. First one is hen-housed egg production. Second is age of sexual maturity, body weight of sexual maturity in grams, feed intake up to sexual maturity, that is 5.4 to 5.5 kgs, feed intake between egg produced, so that is 37 to 39 kgs. So that is between sexual maturity to the 72 weeks. And the amount of feed that is required to produce a dozen of eggs, amount of feed required to egg mass. These are the economic parameters. Okay, in case of layers, some diet induced factors, or you can say the metabolic disorders or diet oriented or nutritional related problems also occurs in layers. Under this, the first condition is the hysteria. This is also called as flighty flock. That means birds, due to the nervous abnormalities, so there will be unusual crying and squawking sounds, unusual flying movements. So this type of abnormal behaviors you can observe in the hysteria. So actual reason for this is actually unknown, but it can be overcome by supplementing this methionine, niacin or tryptophan altogether or separately, because these compounds can improve the nervous health, nervous system. It will rejuvenate the nervous system. By that, it can overcome these problems. And also by adding the fish meal or meat meal also. So in some situation, this hysteria conditions can be overcome. The next condition is prolapse. So prolapse means prolapse of uterus or reproductive organs can happen. So this is due to the secondary to the picking, that is called as feather picking. So this may be due to excess of light. So if you don't provide manage the sufficient day and night times, so if the intensity of light is also very higher, so it will cause us this picking. Due to that, the prolapse can happen during higher temperature, poor ventilations, improper beak trimming. So due to the improper beak trimming, the birds may during the picking, that will damages, causes the prolapse of the organs. And also due to the poor feathering at the time of housing, and if the diet contains too high proteins or amino acid, so due to that it will cause us production of large sized eggs in relation to its body size. Due to at the time of laying, these large sized eggs causes the prolapse of the reproductive tract. So this can be overcome by reducing the proteins, or by proper management, feeding management, you can avoid it, this type of conditions. The next condition is fatty liver syndrome. It is also called as fatty liver kidney syndrome or fatty liver hemorrhagic syndrome, like that. So it is due to the excess of fat accumulation in the liver causes these conditions, and generally it is due to the low protein or high energy diets and amino acid imbalance and deficiency. So practically this condition is very common in case of both in broilers as well as in layers. And if the diet in lower in lipotrophic factors, so that means these factors that will mobilize the accumulated fats. So those diets which are lacking with this lipotrophic factor can induce these fatty liver conditions like choline, methionine, vitamin B12. So by overcoming this, we can avoid these fatty liver conditions. That is, although if you provide the balanced amino acids and providing this lipotrophic factors, these conditions can be avoided. The common condition in case of layers is cage layer fatigue. So due to the intense keeping of the birds, that is in a cage, if you don't keep a sufficient flocks within the cages, the numbers, so due to the lack of the space, due to the restricted movement of the birds, especially in the peak of its egg productions, birds become unable to stand due to the drainage of calcium that occurs in the eggshell. So due to that, the birds become almost lame. They are unable to stand. Even they cannot able to feed. Okay, due to the competition, the birds won't consume the feed also. So it is a very common problem in case of the layers. That is called as cage layer fatigue. So usually it is complicated with bone breakages also, like tibial bones, they get broken, and usually they will pressing on the breast. They will resting on the breast. So because they cannot be able to tolerate the body weight, the legs cannot be able to bear the body weight. So the cage layer fatigue can happen. So what you have to do is during the pre-layer, you have to increase the calcium level or introduce a pre-layer diet which is having higher calcium Not instead of keeping the same grower rations which is having 1% of calcium, you can increase the calcium. You can prevent this caged air fatigue. And also, if you shift the birds from cage to the deep litter system, so because due to the movement the calcium mobilization occurs to the bones, due to that the bone strength can be improved. The normal condition in case of birds is molting. Molting means cessation of the egg production in the layers, that is called as molting. So usually it is associated with loss of feathers also. Usually it is a natural phenomena. So during the non-laying season, the birds will stop its egg production. So it is common in most of the wild birds also. Same case can happen due to the poor feeding management also. This can happen in any farm. So the this normal phenomenon against birds, because it gives some rest to the birds. So after the laying period of laying, so the birds need rest. So for its rest, what they will do, they will stop its egg production. They will cessate the ovulations and they will stop the egg productions. Okay, and after few days or few weeks, again the birds will rejuvenate itself because of the rest that has been obtained by molting. So after that, again they will go for the next laying cycle. This is called as a molting in case of the birds. The molting can be induced in the farm. In the layer farm, you can induce that. So you can forcibly do the molting. That means you want to stop the egg production by any laying farm or a breeder farm, you can do it. So the reason for induced molting is whenever the demand for the egg is lower, so if the egg price is very lower, in that conditions you want to stop the egg productions in such situations, or some like a bird flu disease is there, in that you want to stop the egg production, because always if there is no demand for egg, there is no need to produce the eggs. So you can stop the egg production by this process called as forced molting or induced molting. And also if the shell quality of the flock is very poor, the flock is producing the thin shelled eggs, in that time by force molting or stopping the egg production, and in the next layer after that they will giving rest, and after that if you give a proper layer rations, they will provide the eggs. So that is called as force molting. So this can be done, this force molting can be done in the layer farm by restriction, feed restriction, either by quantitative or qualitative feed restriction. We can make the bird to stop the egg productions, or by providing the diet containing high amount of zinc or low in sodium. In this situation also you can induce this molting period. So after this phase, when you restrict the feed, the egg production comes to zero. So after some period, a few weeks, you provide a same layer diets. When the prices of egg has been improved, at that time you can include the layer ration. Or till that time you feed only the maintenance type of ration. Don't provide high proteins, keep the lower calcium. By that, once the price has been improved, or if the demand is become improved, what you do, you introduce that layer rations. So within a week or 2 weeks, so again the egg production comes to its from the beginning, so gradually it will improve. So this is called as force molting. Okay, this is a method of arriving energy requirement for the layers. So energy requirement in terms of ME is expressed as ME for maintenance, ME for activity, ME for growth, ME for egg production. So first is for maintenance. As you know, in terms of net energy for maintenance is 83 kilocalories of net energy is required for each kg of metabolic body weight, and if you want to convert to ME, it is 18% higher than NE, because 18% is heat increment in average diets. To calculate the energy requirement for the layers, as same thing I told in the previous broilers also. So for activity, it is if the birds are kept under deep litter system, it is 50%. If it is kept under cage system, it is 37% of the maintenance. So normally all the layers are kept in the cage system. So for our calculation, you can take 37%. And for growth, depending upon the rate of the growth, it is you can calculate it by multiplying the average daily gain into 18% of CP and 15% of fat, and the physiological fuel value of the protein and fat, that is 4 and 9 kilocalories. Using that values, you can calculate the amount of energy that is required for the growth. On an average, for each gram of growth, 1.5 to 3 kilocalories of energy is required, kilocalories of ME is required. And for egg production, one egg is equal to 86 kilocalories. Suppose if the flock is producing 100% of egg production, so that is, you can calculate, you can take the value of 86. If it is 90%, so 86 into 0.9, you can do it. You can calculate how much of energy that is required for egg production. Okay, this is an example that has been shown, calculated how to calculate the energy requirement of layers using the values like body weight of 1.25 kgs, average daily gain of 5 grams, egg production 95% in the flock, and reared under cage system, the bird's age is 40 weeks. So using that you can calculate what is the energy requirement for this bird. So ME, total ME required for the layer is 256 kilocalories of ME is required. Suppose feed contains 2600, the amount of feed needed is 98.5, because the energy is the one which depicts the intake of the bird, which directs the intake. So to satisfy the energy till the time the birds will consume. So in this example, bird will consume around 98.5 grams of feed to get 256 kilocalories of ME in a day. Again, in case of protein requirement also same thing. So that is maintenance plus growth plus feather plus egg production in case of layers. But in case of broilers, you can no need to use the egg productions. And also one more factor is required is efficiency of utilization of feed protein. That is, in case of layers it is 55%, in case of meat production it is 61%. It is the efficiency of utilization. To calculate the protein requirement for layers, so these are the factors that is required. One is for maintenance. The amount of protein required for maintenance is 200 milligrams of nitrogen. It is nitrogen per kg of live weight, body weight per day. Or if you multiply with the 6.25, you can express in terms of proteins. That is 1600 milligrams of protein or 1.6 grams of protein is required per kg of body weight. To calculate the amount of protein for growth, again you multiply with the 18% in that, because 18% of protein content. To calculate the amount of protein for feather formations, because feathers contains 82% feather, and the feather formation is at 4 weeks of age, it is 7% of body weight, and if it is at early age, that is below 3 weeks, it is 4% of body weight. So in case of layers, you can add the amount of protein required for egg production using the value 6 gram per egg, because as I said, egg contains around 12% of protein, that is 50 grams into 12% means 6 grams of protein, and the efficiency of utilization of feed protein is 55%. So using this you can calculate the protein required for the layers. Okay, this is an example. We are calculated how much of protein required for the layers, that is using the values in the previous values. So maintenance, so considering the body weight of 1.25 kg, average daily gain of 5 grams, egg production 95%, under cage system, age is 40 weeks. Using that, the amount of protein required for layers it has been calculated. For maintenance, it becomes 2 grams, growth 0.9 grams, feather 0.3 grams, egg production 5.7 grams. So net protein required is 8.9 grams. That is sum of all this. The efficiency is 55%. 8.9 by 55% becomes 16.2 grams of protein. That has been in the previous slides I have shown. Directly I have shown the values. On an average, the layers needs around 16 grams of protein and 250 to 260 kilocalories of energy. So that I have shown, that I have calculated in this slide also. Suppose if the feed intake is 98.5 grams as shown in the previous, if it contains 18% protein, that means easily it can meet 16.2 grams of protein. Although the required is 16.2, birds are consuming 17.7 grams of protein, as in this case. Some of the questions have been asked regarding to calculate the energy and protein requirement. You use these values and calculate how much of energy and protein that is required, and you can calculate what should be the feed intake considering the BA standards as per the specified ages. Okay, you can refer that to chick, grower, and layer 1, layer 2. So calculate how much of feed that is required to meet this much of energy and protein. Okay, you calculate and submit in the emails. Find out the meaning for these words. First one is altricial, precocial, super precocial. Okay, these are related to the animals and birds. You find out the meaning for these words and send your answers to the emails. And any clarifications are required with respect to the layer feeding or any chapters to be covered with respect to the layers, please free to ask and get it clarified. Thank you all.